A very good evening and welcome to Network. My name is Sphumelele Zondi. Tonight we'll tell you about the I Am Stellenbosch social media campaign. We have information on how South African Airways has teamed up with a tech company to provide laptops on international flights. Our studio discussion is on car technology with CarMag's Steve Smith. We are live, so find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. Stellenbosch University has been in the news for all the wrong reasons recently. The social media film Leicester highlighted the issue of racism in the university. Now, some students at the university seem to be embarking on a new social media campaign to rebrand Stellenbosch as an inclusive institution. They're using the hashtag I Am Stellenbosch, but the campaign is facing a huge backlash in social media. These are some of the people who are participating in the hashtag I Am Stellenbosch campaign. But it seems to be backfiring because of the minor mistakes that show that the students don't pay attention to African culture, words and pronunciations. There's this placard from an Afrikaans student who watches Jika Majika. Readers can only assume he meant SABC wants Jika Majika. Then there is a black student who says she is South African before she is Sesotho. Sesotho is a language, a Mosotho is a person.
They already have seen a very big backlash. If you talk about race in South Africa, you are inevitably going to get a debate going for better or for worse. And the diversity of South African social media means that the debate will take directions that you can't actually easily anticipate. But I think in this particular case, I think the students would have been naive if they didn't see a big backlash coming.
This one guy was tapping the woman that was working behind the counter on the head as if she was a dog. And when we said that he should stop doing that, he said, no, these are my friends. These are my friends. What I remember from that, because a lot has happened since then, was almost looking in the woman's face and seeing almost fear in her face, but at the same time seeing that she'd kind of been conditioned to that. And that's where I knew that she didn't actually enjoy this kind of treatment.
The campaign is a response to the film Leicester, which also trended in social media. It had black students narrating their experiences of racism at Stellenbosch University.
The interesting thing is that the whole thing started with the Leicester documentary, which was a social media campaign of its own. It was launched on social media, it took off on social media, it became very big on social media. And this is really a response to something that started on social media, so it's continuing the debate on a social media channel.
I Am Stellenbosch seems to be bigger than just a hashtag. It appears to be a carefully crafted campaign with videos that have been shared on Facebook and Twitter. Some critics have responded with their own hashtag, I Am Not Stellenbosch. There was this video from YouTube user Esti Stradum. She titled it, You Are Not Stellenbosch.
Hi, I also have a message from I Am Stellenbosch. It's a very serious one. I'm Afrikaans, but my farm is small. Hashtag I Am Stellenbosch.
This is not the first social media campaign by university students that became popular. Earlier this year, there was Rhodes Must Fall and Rhodes So White, which called for transformation at Rhodes and Cape Town universities. It seems supporters of Stellenbosch University want followers to think the image of racism at the university is exaggerated. If you're planning a business class trip to Mauritius on SAA, then you're in for a treat. They are teaming up with Samsung to provide free tablets on the flight.
And may I offer you the use of a Samsung Galaxy tablet for your in-flight entertainment? Thank you.
This is a type of experience that SAA business class passengers should expect. They are trying it on the route to Mauritius for now. They are installing handheld devices that will ensure customized entertainment for individuals. Samsung Electronics has partnered with SAA for this.
We are launching the introduction of Samsung Galaxy Active tablets, 10.1 to be specific, on all business class routes into Africa.
The content on these devices is installed to accommodate the 4-hour flight.
We've done some trials, and these trials have been going on, I would say, for the last 9 months, 6 to 9 months, just to make sure that we can get content as well as improve the overall experience for passengers.
There still won't be Wi-Fi and internet access, and hopefully this will eventually be an on-flight reality too.
Most of us use banks in one way or another. This is whether we walk into a branch or go online. To continue our celebration of Heritage Month, we're looking at the evolution of banking.
I have just concluded my banking on my cell phone whilst chatting to a friend. No queues, no fuss. But it was not always this easy. Banking has been around since the first currencies were minted. As more and more coins were produced, the rich needed a place to stash their money. However, most didn't have a safe place to put their money, so they took it to the temples. This is when the first banking system was born. As years progressed, banks became institutionalized, but they were in the hands of governments. Around 1776, banks began to self-regulate and had limited involvement from the government. Then it was shaped up by Britain's Adam Smith to be what we know as the modern-day bank. Over the years, banks relied on humans to count and save money. But things started to change as technology was introduced. Computers and currency counters were brought in to ensure accuracy. Things started to shape up when the first automated machine was introduced. In 1976, the first automated teller machine was born in Britain. And then later there was an introduction of personal identification numbers or PIN codes. The idea of a PIN stored on a card was developed by a British engineer, James Goodfellow, in 1965. The essence of this system is to enable the verification of the customer with a debited account without human intervention. The first South African ATM was installed 34 years ago, introduced by Standard Bank. At the time, only check account holders were able to use this machine. As more and more machines were installed, banking became less of a hassle. The uses of checkbooks and bank books lessened, even though the developed countries like USA are still using them. Fast forward to 2015.
Nowadays, you do not have to walk into the bank to do your banking.
That is because gadgets like tablets and smartphones have applications that allows you to do all your banking online. Now there are bitcoins, which are digital currencies. They are created and held electronically, and no one controls them. However, Bitcoin's most important characteristic is that they are decentralized. This makes it different from conventional banks. Perhaps this is where all the banks are heading.
Now, Google celebrates its 17th birthday today, and the fake model of the latest iPhone is available in China. Here's what's been doing the rounds in the rest of the technology world.
Hi and welcome to another edition of the SABC News Tech Wrap. I am Lebogang Sejake.
And I'm Matiba Subanyoni. Now, as we continue to celebrate Heritage Month, we come to you from our backyard here at SABC in Auckland Park.
The iPhone 6s is now available in China. Well, nah, scratch that. The iPhone 6s fake model is available in China. Now, this is days before the official release of the original handset.
Now, there will be some downsides with the fake version. For instance, it is slow for a new phone and the photos it takes are fuzzy. This is what people on the street had to say about the pirated version.
Even if the shop doesn't sell real Apple products, they think getting a pirate or refurbished one is not bad anyway. They think they have face, and face is very important for many people.
Under Europe's so-called right to be forgotten, individuals can ask search engines such as Google and Microsoft's Bing to remove information under a search of their name if the information is incorrect, irrelevant or outdated. Now, this has caused a stir between France and search engine Google. French data privacy regulators took a step towards sanctioning Google by rejecting the company's request to drop a case against it for refusing to clean up information from its search engine results. Since the European Court of Justice ruling last year that granted the right to be forgotten to European residents, Google has fielded nearly 320,000 requests, granting about 40% of them. But Google only delists the links on European versions of the sites, such as google.fr or google.de, not globally, meaning the information remains available.
We know that driving can get quite stressful at times. Well, an automotive parts maker is working on a seat that would be able to detect your stress levels.
What we basically do is to monitor respiration rate and heart rate in the seat, and we derive stress and energy level from that. And having these kind of wellness being information, we now can offer a closed loop comfort system. So in case you are stressed, you get a relaxation massage. In case you have a low energy level, you get a very energizing massage.
The makers say that the intelligent car seat could be on the market by year 2020.
Growth in the number of people with access to the internet is slowing. Now more than half of the world's population remains offline, according to the United Nations. Internet access in rich economies is reaching saturation levels, but 90% of people in the 48 poorest countries have none. The access growth rate is expected to slow to 8.1% this year, down from 8.6% in 2014. Until 2012, growth rates had been in double digits for years. The Commission says the milestone of 4 billion internet users was unlikely to be passed before 2020.
Now that's it from us this week. Coming to you from the SABC headquarters, I am Lubukhan Sejake.
And I'm Matiba Sibanyoni.
And from us,
bye.
Audio Jungle.
Relaxation massage while driving, isn't that quite something? It's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Stay with us.
SABC brings to you Rugby World Cup 2015.
Let's do this.
My people, we are getting there, and thanks to you, Party is set to become our country's 12th official language. Here's today's word. Substitute. Replacing a drinking buddy with somebody more fun.
Yes!
That's more like it.
Make it a home game with a case of Castle Lager for only $149.99 and help make Party South Africa's 12th official language. Tops at Spa. Shake things up.
It's News Network at sabc.co.za and email. Thank you very much for staying with us. Welcome back. One of the world's biggest motor shows has just concluded in Germany. The Frankfurt Motor Show catered for every taste. And as with the last 3 editions of the show, advances in car connectivity technology was the major highlight. So were exhibitions focusing on concepts powered by alternative energies. Here are some of the highlights from there.
The modern buzzword in motoring circles is connectivity, and traditional car manufacturers are jumping on the proverbial bandwagon.
Cheaper, higher level of autonomy, more power, more everything, which is the normal continuous improvement that you're expecting from a car manufacturer. And we really believe that the potential of the electric cars and the zero-emission cars is in front of us.
Connected cars have the potential to drive themselves, communicate with the driver, and even become the office desk while driving on the highway. But the real revolutionaries are the global tech giants entering the car manufacturing space. Tech companies like Apple and Google are not only bound to compete in the car market, they're expected to dominate. They come with unrivaled and unprecedented technological know-how and capital, not to mention creativity. But the traditional car makers such as BMW insist they are not so far behind.
We were the first to put every one of our vehicles into connectivity, but I think honestly we're at the early days of this. I think the processes, the ideas, the programs that are all coming will be really expanded over the next couple of years.
Alternative energy concept fever was also in the air in Frankfurt, although one German manufacturer's scandal regarding pollution made a stink at the motor show. Volkswagen was exposed for manipulating its diesel fuel software in order to appear more environmentally friendly.
We're trying to link up with Steve Smith, the editor of Car Mag, for that one. Hopefully we'll have him in a minute. Now this week we caught up with jazz pianist Paul McCartney. He told us what his favorite piece of technology is.
Hi, my name is Paul McCartney and I'm a pianist, and I happen also to be the recipient for the Standard Bank Young Artist for Jazz Award. And my favorite piece of technology is my laptop, where I do my editing, I do my programming. So I use a MacBook Pro, it's an Apple product, and I use Logic, which is also a product of Apple Mac, for programming stuff. I do a lot of film scoring at times, and it just makes it easy for me to create music wherever I am, and without even using the keyboard as such, you know, the actual piano. So, you know, digitized, everything is digitized.
Get behind Rugby World Cup 2015 on SABC.
Right, welcome back. To discuss developments with regard to in-car connectivity and related issues such as self-driving cars and the current emissions is Steve Smith. Steve is the car editor for Car Mag and joins us from Cape Town. Hello and welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Pimela. It's nice to be here.
Now, Steve, how was the Frankfurt Motor Show?
Yeah, geez, it's an amazing experience. It's the biggest motor show around. It takes you 2 full days just to try and see everything. So, yeah, it's one of those things you really have to see if you're a petrol head, I guess.
Your favorites there?
The standout for me probably was Porsche's Mission E concept car, which really takes on the Tesla in the US. It's an all-electric car, 447 kilowatts. Really shows that Porsche is very serious. In fact, the whole VW group, pretty serious about electric cars.
Let's talk about electric cars. How is the take-up for those, especially here in South Africa?
Well, Spumalele, it's very small in South Africa. There's essentially 2 models that you can buy, 2 full electric vehicles. One is the Nissan Leaf, and more recently the BMW i3. There's a bunch of issues around it, obviously. Our electricity in South Africa is fairly sketchy as it is. It's also not really green electricity as it comes from coal. So, producing energy from coal into electricity isn't the most efficient way of doing things. So they're not particularly efficient cars, but you still see a few of them on the road, and there's obviously recharging issues. So I think in terms of infrastructure, it's probably the biggest issue we have to face with regard to electric vehicles here in South Africa.
Recharging issues as in terms of there aren't enough places to go and recharge your vehicle?
Yeah, there's this big thing called range anxiety, so you're a bit nervous to drive a car for too far, and it's going to take you too long to recharge it. You don't know where to recharge it. Certainly at the big dealerships for Nissan and BMW, you will have recharging stations, and at your home as well, and probably at work. So they do work if you're driving for a short commute, and we've had both cars at Car Magazine. We've loved them. They've been fantastic commuter cars, and you can really see with my team, who are real sort of dyed-in-the-wool petrol heads, who are very skeptical of electric vehicles. Within a week of having the car around the office, everyone was kind of clamoring to drive it. So, you're driving 60 Ks to work and 60 Ks home. There's no problem there at all.
Mm-hmm. Is there a place in the world where these vehicles work?
Yes, I think, again, it boils down to infrastructure. If you look at areas in Scandinavia, those countries, and in California in the US, where there's a real move towards green energy, and they've set up the infrastructure, those cars really work extremely well there. And in fact, I think the percentage of sales for electric vehicles is particularly high in those markets.
Now let's talk about Google and Apple planning to get into the car industry. Your take on that?
It's a fascinating one, actually. We've been talking about it quite a lot in the office, because are we getting to a situation where this device, your phone, actually determines your next car? So if a car works on an operating system offered by Apple, which is their CarPlay, or perhaps the car only has the Android system, which is Android Auto, that might actually make you choose which car you buy, one that's suited to your phone. Because, our lives are connected to our phones these days, aren't they? You might as well get a car that works well with your phone.
But at this stage, this is something they're still planning. Do you think they're going to succeed? They do have the technology.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be a lot of technology sharing. I think that whereas they will want to share their software with some of the car manufacturers, although they're talking pretty big, those car manufacturers, about having their own software and developing their own stuff, I think at the end of the day, they're probably going to have to partner with the likes of Google and Apple, Android. And I think likewise, it's one thing developing a small car, but to develop an actual car range with the technology, even for a company like Google or Apple, is a considerable venture. There's a lot of money involved, a lot of different technology, which they're not really familiar with. So I can't see them going on their own. I really see some kind of key partnerships happening in the next decade or so.
Mm-hmm. Self-driving cars, that's something that has been in the testing phase for the last year or two or so. Can you tell us about that? What's behind that?
Well, look, the reality is that the technology for self-driving cars is already here. Over a year ago, I spent the best part of 45 minutes in a new Mercedes S-Class in Canada, and I wasn't really driving the car. I was tapping my hands on the steering wheel every 40 seconds, so it knew I was around, otherwise an alarm would go off. But basically the car was negotiating itself on the highway with its lane-changing technology and adaptive cruise control with radar. So the technology is there. The real issue, though, I think, for everyone around the world, is one of legislation. So it's whether the particular legislation in each country can cope with cars that drive themselves, because you can imagine the insurance implications for that kind of stuff if there was kind of any accidents or whatever. So it's not a technology thing that's holding us back. I think it's more of a legislative thing if you speak to all the big car manufacturers.
Yeah. Quickly, Steve, last thing. The big scandal with Volkswagen in the last week or so. Why did they cheat the system in terms of green energy? It is embarrassing.
Look, I doubt whether the big guys at VW knew about this. You know, if you think about a company like Volkswagen, for that to have been signed off, it would have gone through 6 or 7 layers of management. For me, it sounds like it was probably someone, an engineer fairly low down, who needed to pass off an engine that passed the emission things, and he probably, you know, or maybe that team manufactured those cheat codes. I can't see it being a thing that Volkswagen, a highly respected company, a German company, would really have known about that at the top, to be honest.
Steve Smith, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure.
All right. Steve Smith is the car editor for CarMag, and he's joining us there from Cape Town. Now, let's see what some people have been sharing in social media. The Springboks' win over Samoa has been dominating social media. It's a change from last week's criticism, as many are using the One Team, One Nation hashtag. Many in social media are sharing their love for the rugby team. Springboks captain Jean de Villiers' injury has some worried. Sports Minister Fikile Mbalula has issued a statement about it. Even World Rugby CEO has tweeted about this. De Villiers will have to go through scans in hospital to see if he can complete the tournament. And entertainment lovers are making Spring Day jump off trend. The music concert is currently happening at the Zone 6 venue in Soweto. Right, that's all we have for you. Remember to find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's newsnetwork at sabc.co.za and email. Today's a rather busy Sunday. The internet search giant Google turns 17 years old, and the moon is at its biggest this evening and is termed the supermoon. In South Africa, you can go outside and check in the early hours of the morning. We leave you with some of those visuals from me and the rest of the network team. Have a good one.